So it's great to meet you, Mark, and thanks for taking the time out of your busy itinerary.
Well, Jim, to be honest, I think the pleasure is all mine. I know you're a bit of a local legend here in Torquay, so I'm honoured to have the opportunity to sit down and have a chat with you today. So thanks very much for that, Jim.
Thanks for your time. And legend, thank you very much. We're sat here in sunny Torbay, the sun is shining on the English Riviera. I've looked at your CV, obviously, and it's rather impressive. And I think you travel the world, you come from different backgrounds, different domains, different businesses. Tell a little bit about Mark Thomason, where you've been, and when it comes to the elite rugby, the sports partnerships. It's been really varied, your career, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've really been someone who's lived with no fixed abode for a long time. So when I was brought up, my father was in the RAF, so we were posted around to various different sort of RAF camps as I was growing up. Then I went to college in Sheffield. I lived in Manchester for a year. Then I lived in London for a year. And then somehow I ended up in Australia playing rugby. So I've always had a passion for sports. Football was my first love. You know, when I moved to Buckingham, I was taken kicking and screaming to a rugby-only school. So I always played rugby, but on Sundays I will play Sunday league with the local club. So, and that's really happened right through my life.
How did you end up from Buckinghamshire to Australia to China?
So I think it's fundamentally sports.
Okay.
So one of the defaults of going to rugby school, I became reasonable at the game.
Yeah,
and
okay.
I played to an okay standard. And after Australia, I travelled around a bit and ended up in Hong Kong, where they were trying to pull a rugby sevens team together to qualify for what was then the inaugural Rugby World Cup Sevens event. And I did and have played in a World Cup, which is the Rugby Sevens. We didn't do very well, but it sort of ticked the box to say I've done international sport. But to be honest, I was sort of a very average club player.
Yeah. So that explains Mandarin a little bit. That intrigued me.
So after a couple of years in Hong Kong, I basically thought, well, there's no money in rugby, so I've got to think what I want to do. And for whatever reasons, I wanted and thought I should be an entrepreneur. It was pretty obvious that China was going to be the next big thing economically. Learned Chinese, got to know the lay of the land in terms of building relationships. And when I was ready, I started my own business, which I ran for 17 years, based in Shanghai. But we had offices in Beijing, Chengdu and Guangzhou, as well as Hong Kong, and we did sort of sports marketing business across the Asia Pacific region.
So that's how you got into business then. Obviously that explains the leap from your elite rugby and the rugby sevens. Suddenly you're in entrepreneurship and sports marketing and business, and then that takes you into the realms of the AC Milans and the FIFAs. And how did that happen? Was that again?
So during my business there were three fundamental things that we did. The first thing, we worked for brands, and we worked on the strategy through to the activation of that. So we worked with people like Adidas. So we did a lot of work in fitness and running, but also supported their grassroots football program in China. Worked for Diageo, the drinks company, who had a big sort of program around Guinness and rugby. So brand work, strategy, activation. The second thing we did was we worked with what I call international rights holders. And that could be a Premier League football team. So it could be a Formula One team. It could be an international federation. So when we represent them, we help them build a strategy across Asia, and we support them in terms of their commercial development, finding sponsors, looking for licensing deals in terms of academies or merchandise, or it could mean at the very top of the tree helping them develop new media rights deals in the region as well. So a cross-section of commercial, working with some of the top rights holders in the world. And the first and probably the third and more foolish part of what I did was I invested in our own event IP. So we invested and promoted events. So I've done mass participation running. We used to do a rugby sevens event. world archery, world rowing, and we did a Pan-Asian motorsports event working with a French organization called the ACO, who are the promoters of the Le Mans 24-hour race, which was last weekend. And we created something called the Asia Le Mans Series, which was a race series that raced in Japan, Korea, China, Thailand, Indonesia, and Malaysia.
How did you end up at Torquay United from that background?
You know, someone gave me a call and
Okay.
said, would you be interested?
Okay.
And it sort of planted a seed in me. I mean, to be honest, I've always wanted to work in a club of stature that I could then take what I've learned in my career to add value to it. So trying to find the right marriage between my talent, if you like, and the club's needs and wants in terms of what they were looking for a vision and their objectives going forward. So that call planted a seed, and from that seed, I started to meet. We had an opportunity to do a call with some of the directors at Bryn, and then they invited me down here for a full day's interview with the board and different stakeholders with the club, and it just felt right. It felt like a good marriage of meetings. It was something that I was looking for. But I think, something maybe the club was looking for someone like me as well. It just felt right.
Yeah, the mix and the partnership.
And then, to be honest, you come to Torquay and Torbay area, it is stunning. I mean, who wouldn't want to live in Torbay on a sunny day like today? Yeah, it's beautiful. So I think this is a place of much interest. I think there are, real positives about the community here, and I think there's hopefully ways in which I can support the club coming in. Yeah,
I'm sure there will be. What does the family think about this?
one of the things when I was in China, I didn't just start my own business. I met and married a Chinese woman called
brilliant.
Willa,
Okay.
and we had 3 sons there. And I think part, if not the main reason for exiting my company in China and moving back was very much for the children. We wanted to give them a good, honest education in the UK, and also a lot of the things that I took for granted and loved when I was a boy, whether it be going to a football match or a rugby match, to have that more social side of being and feeling British.
Yeah.
So, and I think the UK does a lot of good things in that space. So, we moved back to England a few years ago, got the kids through school and university, and now we are again looking for a new challenge. My wife is really quite interesting.
Okay.
There's one thing if you ever meet her that she loves, and that's seafood. Going to some of the nicest restaurants and eating in the most beautiful surroundings. And to be honest, she's completely sold, and I'm completely sold. Yeah.
So you got plans to move down?
I think it became pretty clear when we were doing those interview discussions, and I think if you're going to do a job properly, you've got to do it well. And the only way you can do this job properly is locate here and be part of the community that we're trying to serve. Yeah.
The consortium has put the community back into the club and the club's back in the community. You mentioned community several times. Is that something that was of huge interest and attraction to you when you're looking at the job?
Yeah, because we're on a journey, aren't we?
Yeah.
I think we're on a journey together. And I think when the new consortium with the Bryn guys took over, I think they basically captured the feeling of the community, where maybe the club had been sort of listing for a few years. It invigorated not only the club but all the supporters to sort of re-engage in the club and what it means to the town. I mean, for me, a football club is a community asset of the greatest importance, and we sometimes, don't give it the importance it has to, generations of fans, fathers and sons, mothers, sisters, daughters who come to clubs, bond relationships around them, and attach massive importance to that. So it's the most, what we say, it's the thing that's least important, that's the most important thing in your life.
I get that. How have you found things in the first fortnight?
Firstly, I've been overwhelmed by the friendliness of the welcome of the people here. So that's something that's really special to me. I already feel somehow part of the furniture already.
Brilliant. Yeah.
And also in terms of understanding the feeling and the passion of the fans and supporter base, it's almost palpable their love of this club. And we, the Bryn Consortium, myself and the other executives, really have to consider us custodians of the club on behalf of the fans and the community. And I think that sort of is something that I think we're all prepared to take on our shoulders to try and move this club forward. But my job specifically as a chief executive on the sporting side is to give Paul and the players and create an environment that they can thrive as best they can to hopefully achieve some of those sporting aspirations that we all have. Secondly, for me, there is obviously a management of the club. I think, I think I mentioned before, Jim, when I was growing up, my local club in Buckingham went out of business. It is no more. And there's a litany of stories of clubs doing that. And from that, we must basically get a clear financial sustainability program going within what we do, and it's just basic economics. We've got to learn how to, spend money within our means, but also have great aspirations in terms of what we do with our resources. So those are the sort of, I think, the challenges we have going forward. But I'm convinced within the ownership and the management, we have the team in place that can hopefully take this club forward over the next few years. Yeah.
We're on the cusp of a really good, positive new future with massive regeneration projects all over the bay, private sector, public partnerships with developers and key sites being developed. This club has been mentioned as part of that going forward, as part of that new future. Where do you see the bay? You've only been here 2 weeks, I appreciate that, but you've already fallen in love with the place, which is totally understandable, by the way. But where do you see the bay, and how do you see it from outside looking in, and where do you see Torquay United fitting into that massive new future?
I've sort of reached out, and we will be engaging with the Torbay Council and the Ward Council to sort of see how we can work with them to take the club forward. Like many coastal towns, areas, there has been a challenging environment for many years as tourism has changed and more people go abroad, and a lot of young people seek employment in other parts of the country or even the world. So there definitely needs to be, positive regeneration. I think Torbay as a whole has, for me, a natural beauty and, again, a sense of community that already gives it, I think, a bit of a head start over other coastal towns. So I think that's a bonus. And I think, if I look around what's happening around the marina and some of the other places, it's stunning. It's stunning. I remember my wife and I were sitting in Torquay Marina a couple of nights ago, sitting out. It's a beautiful evening. I took a photo, sent it to one of my sons, and they said, "You can't be in the UK."
Yes, yeah,
I think they thought we were in Monaco and sneaked off for a weekend or something. And so, there is this definite, stuff there that is already working. The club, I'm not going to say the club is the most important thing in town, but it is a community asset that can not only promote the town in a positive way, in the UK and even possibly beyond. It has, I think, the opportunity to galvanise the spirit of the local community. And that obviously is in performances on the pitch. We all feel better when we win, but it's also everything else we do 360 days in terms of the events, activities, the fan experiences we can build that, we as a club can start building something that really means something to those fans, and the fans are proud of it again. I think whether you get promoted or not, I think that galvanisation should be something that we really need to focus on. But I can only feel, when you've been through administration, there's only one way to go, isn't there?
Yeah.
And if we get that team together and we're all aligned and working together, and all stakeholders, from fans to board to staff to the council, we can really move this place forward. And hopefully the club can be part of a greater vision of what Torbay can be. Yeah.
Where do you stand when it comes to new players, new budgets, if there are new budgets, and the playing side of things?
Yeah, I don't think it's really my place to talk about budgets. It's something that we work out internally. All I'll say is I was talking to Paul yesterday. He feels very optimistic with his squad, and he's very much looking forward to this coming season. He has his clear goals laid out in terms of what he wants to achieve. We are playing sport with 11 men on a football pitch, so sometimes things are not everything we want them to be, but I think with the management and the continuity of the footballing side of what we're doing with Paul, I think that really basically gives us the opportunity to push forward in terms of the footballing side. Yeah. You can never say definitely, but we are hoping for the best. Yeah.
Final question, where do you see the club in 5 years' time?
Champions
You got
League?
a crystal ball? Champions League. have you know the answer? You should be sat there as a dead cert, but where do you hope to see the club in 5 years' time?
Joking apart, I think there's definitely a sporting, footballing step forward that it would be great for the club to take. I can't say exactly where that will be because it maintains and is, about lots of different things, but we would hope it would be in a position higher than we are at the moment, because the club comes from there and the fans deserve a higher level of football back here with higher competition, bigger away sport, lots of things that could be better. But most importantly, I think from a club perspective, we never want to see what happens again in terms of the administration process. So that financial sustainability is not only core to the well-being of the club and what we do with the community, it's also core to the well-being of what we do on a footballing front as well, because we want to be there to grow the club going forward. Yeah.
Mark, it's been really good talking to you. Thanks for being frank and open with us. I know I speak for a lot of people when the Bay is behind the club, so Devon is behind the club, the Torbay Weekly is definitely behind the club, and I can see a really rosy future both on and off the field, and Torquay fitting into that community and that bigger picture, which is the new Torbay. So I wish you all the best for you and your family. When your wife wants a seafood meal, just let me know and we'll take you to some fish and chip shop somewhere. There won't be a restaurant, but I wish you all the very best. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Jim. It's been an absolute pleasure. Yeah.
Thank you.